Welcome to Ancestral Healing. Let me start this course by introducing Ancestral Healing to you. For more than 20 years, I have worked with people who have struggled with depression, anxiety, chronic illness, phobias, obsessive thoughts, PTSD, and other incapacitating conditions. Many have come to me discouraged, disheartened after years of talk therapy, medication, and other interventions which completely fail to uncover the source of their symptoms and relieve their suffering. What I learned from my own experience, my own training and practice is that the answer may not necessarily lie in our own story as much as in the stories of our parents, our grandparents, and even our great grandparents. Even latest scientific research also tells us that the effect of trauma can pass from one generation to the next. This is what is known as the inherited family trauma, and this is very real. Pain does not always dissolve on its own, is what you need to understand. It doesn't just diminish with time. We generally have a tendency of saying it's all right, it will be okay. But you need to understand that it will not be okay. Pain will not dissolve on its own or diminish with time. Even if the person who has suffered the original trauma, even if they have died, even if his or her story lies buried in years and years of silence, still fragments of their life experience, their memories, and even their body sensations can live on. And it is almost like they are reaching out from the past to find a resolution in the mind and bodies of those who are living in the present. So in this course, we will focus on identifying inherited family patterns, all these fears, these feelings, these behaviors, which we have unknowingly adopted, which keeps this cycle of suffering alive from one generation to the next and to the next. And we will also focus on how to end the cycle, because it is important that you learn not only how to identify it, but also how to end it. You will learn that many of these patterns do not even belong to us. They have merely been borrowed from others in our own family. So the question is, why does this happen? Well, it is because there is a story which needs to be told that can finally be brought to light, brought to awareness, and then put to rest. Let me help you understand this a little more better by sharing the case of a client. Throughout this course of ancestral healing, I have explained a lot of concepts through stories of people, clients who have healed through ancestral healing. The details of every case is very real and true, but the names have been changed throughout to protect their privacy. So let me share with you a very powerful example of how ancestral healing can very deeply impact somebody's life, with the remarkable case of one of my clients. Let's call him Ravi for now. So one day Ravi suddenly lost his vision. Now he lost his vision because of ocular migraine. He was 34 years old, and he one day found himself completely terrified because he was stumbling in his office with his vision completely muddled. Now, generally, ocular migraine is not something which is very serious because the vision gets muddled, but it comes back to normal within an hour or so. But unfortunately, in Ravi's case, this was not what it was. This was just the beginning. Within weeks, the vision in his left eye had started to disappear, and faces started appearing blurred. Road signs started appearing blurred. After consulting many doctors, Ravi was finally told that he has what is known as central serous retinopathy. It is a condition which doesn't have a cure yet, and its cause is even not yet known. Now, in this condition, what happens is there is accumulation of fluid under the retina, and this leads to scarring and blurred vision. The chronic form of this condition, which Ravi had, affects about 5% of the people and leaves them legally blind. So doctors had warned Ravi that it was only a matter of time before both his eyes would be affected. Imagine hearing a news of this type. Ravi was completely devastated and feeling absolutely helpless. He tried everything possible, including vitamins, juice fast, hands-on healing, but everything only made it worse. He was very confused and fearful, and he felt depressed. He lost the will to live also. As Ravi kept replaying this scenario in his mind, the feeling of hopelessness deepened with him. Alone, helpless, ruined. These were the words that kept echoing in his thoughts, making him even more depressed. And what was not known to him at the time was that these words were his own personal language of fear, which you will be learning further on in the course, which increased his own mental and physical suffering. Now he wondered why he gave his thoughts so much power. Other people also had hardships. In fact, some had even worse, and they did not brood like him. So, what was it about him that stayed so deep within him in fear? Unfortunately, it was years before he found the answer to that question. However, at that moment, overwhelmed and completely desperate, he made a very drastic decision. He chose to leave everything behind him, his family, his relationships, his business, even the city that he knew. He handed over his successful business to a stranger that he had completely just met, and he started on a journey which finally then brought him to India. Ravi longed for healing, but he did not understand what healing actually felt like. He read books, he studied with teachers who wrote these books. Whenever he heard that there was somebody who could help him, he went there. He joined training programs one after the other. He meditated for hours every day. He even fasted for days at times. He ate herbs which he thought would fight against those imagined toxins that he believed were attacking his tissues, while his eyesight continued to deteriorate and his depression continued to grow. What he failed to understand was that when we resist feeling something painful, we often increase that very pain, which we are trying to get rid of. This constant search for some external solution blocked his ability to see the internal shifts and the breakthroughs that he was experiencing. His focus on getting the answers outside of himself stopped him from tuning inwards to those valuable insights which were waiting to be discovered within him. So when he came to me, I encouraged him to see what he was unwilling to see, because as you can see, eyesight is about seeing, vision. It is about something that you are not willing to see. So, but however, he failed to understand what I was trying to tell him. I was persistent in my approach and I asked him, okay, so tell me, who do you think you are that you should not have eye problems? There are people who have ears which do not hear very well. Somebody's lungs are not very strong. Somebody cannot walk as well as normal people. So I gave him examples of other people who had their own physical limitations and told him that his eye condition did not define him as a person. Something clicked in him and he realized that I was right. It was arrogant of him to think that he could not have eye problems. And as this perception started sinking in, it triggered a release of emotions that he had suppressed for years together. Ravi cried and cried, allowing his pain to surface. He now began to see clearly, not with his physical eyes, but with his inner vision. The truth that he had buried deep within, it had started coming out. His fear of abandonment, the unresolved emotions with his own parents, and the longing for a deep connection. One day, when he was waiting to meet me, on his turn, he came to me and he expected that I would acknowledge his dedication. But instead of that, my psychic vision told me to tell him to go home and call his mother and father. I told him, confront the emotional wounds that lie suppressed within you. He was very upset, angry, and even anxious with what I told him. But he agreed. With fear and nervousness, he went back to his childhood home, unsure about what awaited him. On his arrival, he was greeted by his mother, who embraced him in a tight, warm, loving hug, something that he was yearning for but never received. In that moment, as they both held each other, the weight of the years of emotional distance completely dissolved. Tears flowed freely as they both released the pain that had separated them for so long. In one of the conversations, his mother told him that when he was small, she had been hospitalized for 3 weeks. And with this understanding, he realized what was going on inside him. As you go further in the course, you will also understand why something so small could have such a powerful impact. So before the age of 2, when his mother and he were separated, An unconscious tightening had taken root inside his body. When she returned home, he had stopped trusting her to take care of him. He was no longer open to her. Instead, he pushed her away as he had been doing for the next 30 years. However, while repairing the bond with his mother, he also knew, because I had told him, go back home to both your mother and father. He knew that he had to rebuild his relationship with his father. Ravi's relationship with his father was more complex because there was years of resentment and unspoken words which were there between them. But Ravi was determined to bridge this gap because his parents were divorced. Sitting face to face, he and his father engaged in honest, heartfelt conversation for the first time, sharing their deepest regrets and acknowledging the pain that they had caused to each other. Through tears, they discovered the love for each other. Ravi's emotional wounds began to heal, and something very surprising developed from this. He received a call from his sister who shared the news that her father's hearing had also improved significantly. Doctors were astounded because they had no explanation for the improvement in his father's hearing. Ravi then realized that it was the emotional reconciliation which somewhere resonated on a very deep level, and it healed his father's ailment. Now, the early separation from his mother, along with other traumas that he had inherited from his family, specifically the fact that three of his grandparents had lost their mother at a very early age, and the fourth one had lost an infant, which had now caused the fear, and he has inherited these fears from them. So the words alone, helpless, and ruined, these feelings which accompanied those words were now losing their power as he started healing. He now had a new life and he transformed his relationship with his parents. Now he no longer expected to be able to see clearly. It had stopped becoming important to him. And miraculously, as his emotional wounds healed, his physical vision also improved and it became a perfect 20/20. The doctors were totally shocked at this unexpected turnaround, swearing that with the kind of scarring that he had on his retina, he should be blind. Ironically, after searching the entire planet for answers, he found that the healing was within him only. Let me help you understand this a little better with another example of another case. Let's call this person or man Manish. Now, Manish had a fear that his life would be ruined. His mother had told him that she experienced a very difficult labor while giving birth to him, where the doctors had to use forceps. Now, because of this, he was born with a lot of bruising and he also had a partially collapsed skull, which generally happens sometimes in forceps delivery. His mother told him that his appearance made it very difficult for her to even hold him at first. Her story then explained the fear of being ruined that he had deep inside. You will be learning this in detail as to how you connect and what you do and how you find out and more. So please don't get overwhelmed. These are just examples to introduce the concept. Okay. The traumatic memory was suppressed in his body and it would resurface every time he gave birth. When I say he gave birth, it means when he gave birth to a new project or new work or anything new. So just by understanding this, it brought Manish immense peace and brought both him and his mother so much more closer. It's important, therefore, that you allow yourself to receive your parents' love, not in the way that you expected, but in the way that they can give it to you. It doesn't matter how they can give it or not give love. What matters is how you can receive what they can give. So listen to the language, especially when you're working with other people for healing them. Listen to the language to what they are saying behind their complaints, beneath their stories. Identify those specific words which will help you to reach the source, the origin of their pain. You will be learning this as to how you can find out and how you can identify. So please don't get overwhelmed as to how will you do it. There is a whole method and techniques which you will be learning completely in detail as we go on in this course. Now, even though some healers do say that language goes missing during trauma, I can assure you that language is never lost. It is lost in the unconscious realms, but it is there waiting to be discovered. Language is very important for healing. In the above examples, you can clearly see that just by locating the words alone, helpless, ruined was so important. Now, when you heal from a trauma, it is like creating a poem. It requires the right timing, the right words, the right image, which can be felt in the body. And that is very important. So if we arrive very quickly at an image or words, then it is possible that the person may not be even ready to take it in. But if the words are not accurate, then they may not even hear it or resonate with them at all. So all of this is equally important. In this course, I have combined different methods of inherited family trauma healing with this crucial role of language. This is called the core language approach, which you will be learning in detail. Now, using specific questions, you can help people find the root cause behind their physical and emotional symptoms which keep them stuck in pain. Finding the right language will help you uncover the trauma, and it will also give the images which are needed for healing. This method has removed depression, anxiety, and even emptiness in minutes. The buried language of our worries, of our fears, has lived inside of us our whole life. It might have originated with our parents, even our grandparents or great grandparents generations ago. Our core language insists on being heard. When we follow it and hear its story, it has the power to remove our deepest fears. So in this course, you may meet family members, both those that you know of and even those that you don't know of, are not aware of, even those who are dead for years now. Some may be not even related to you, but their suffering or cruelty might have changed the course of your family's destiny. We might even uncover maybe some secrets in your stories, which are hidden in the stories, which have long been suppressed because very often these kind of things are not talked about in families. They are kept buried over there. In fact, in one of my own healings, I found a family member that my parents did not know existed. So you may also uncover secrets like this. You will, but I can definitely tell you that you will find yourself at a new place in your life with greater freedom in your body and peace with yourself. So with this, I come to the end of the introduction, and I will see you in the next lesson, which is lesson 1, where we will dive directly into ancestral healing. Thank you.